I really think it's time for another story time with Ted. And this story that I'm going to tell is called The Story of More Popcorn. And it's one of the foundational building blocks for my healing journey. When I first got out of the military, when I got out of the Marines, I lived a seemingly normal life. When I got out, I remember my exit evaluation with the military psych was stellar, too stellar. I remember the psychologist that did my evaluation was just like, be prepared because you seem too good, too okay, and that's not normal for what you've been through. Anyway, years later, I'm out of the military, I'm out of the Marines, and I'm just living a stellar life. I'm married with kids, and there's things, underlying problems and things going on, but for the most part, life is good. Dealing with my demons, but I'm dealing with them well for the most part. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, things fell apart. It wasn't even a sudden thing. It was a breakdown, actually. It was a small deterioration which affected everything in my life. And there were telltale signs. There was financial problems and mental instability, relationship issues that were going on that were small tells that maybe my mind was not quite as stable as I thought it was. Forward in my life to where my PTSD hits full-fledged. It just comes out of the woodwork and just tackles me, right? Throughout my years being married, being a father and a husband and even a Marine, there were times in my life where I knew if I just called my mother, she would bail me out. And I think I got too comfortable with that. I feel like in those moments where I know I had made bad decisions, my mother would always be there to try to fix them. And she literally never judged. She just took care. And she might have been judging in the back of her head, who knows? But anyway, there was a moment when my marriage had fallen apart and I was living in an apartment on air mattresses with my stepson that I was raising at the time. We were out of food. We were out of groceries. I hadn't gotten a job yet. I was applying everywhere, but I didn't have a car, so I was riding around on a bicycle. But there was a moment when we were eating popcorn for dinner. And after a couple nights of popcorn, I'm talking like we had a popcorn popper that was meant for watching movies and making popcorn. We were popping popcorn for dinner. And my son looked at me and he's just like, we got to do something about this. So I called my mom, right? Expecting my mother to order food. But I think mom had gotten to a point of her life where that was enough. And I'll never forget the words that came out of her mouth. I was on speakerphone because that's how I operate my phone. I can't really hear too well with the earpiece that most phones have. So I always operate on speakerphone. And my son's sitting there and we're hungry and it's around dinner time, maybe a little bit later, because I had already tried to figure out how I was going to feed me and my son. And I'm on the phone with my mom, who I could depend on every time to get me out of these situations that were caused by my own bad decisions. I call mom and I say, Mom, we're hungry, Mom. Me and my boy, we're hungry. We're trying. I'm doing everything I can. We're just hungry for dinner. And my mom, calm and collected, said, so what did you have for dinner last night? And I said, well, we had popcorn for dinner. We've been having popcorn for most meals. And mom, almost shaking in the tone of her voice, I could tell in that moment, or I couldn't tell in that moment, but I could tell now thinking back on it. This was probably one of the hardest things she ever told me. She said, well, son, do you have more popcorn? I said, yeah, Mom, I have more popcorn. And she said, well, let me know if there's anything else you need. And for the longest time, my son still remembers this to this day. Me and my son were just like, oh, that was so cold. That was so cruel. But I'll tell you right now, that moment in my life, probably one of the most pivotal moments I've ever been through, as far as realizing that no one's here to save you. You've got to take accountability for your decisions and face the consequences and then rebuild. And to this day, there's some people in my life I will help. I will keep helping. That's my heart. I have a heart for helping people. But there's always going to be that point now in my life where I look at them and I say, well, do you have more popcorn? Good. Let me know if you need anything.